putting the 5.1 SRD under that Creative Commons 4.0 international license is effectively telling the community that One D&D is going to be pretty much a closed system, and it's not going to be backwards compatible like they had originally said, like we
Mhm.
have seen in those 2 Unearthed Arcanas that they released. Like, originally, it was gonna be like, well, what's gonna happen now if I have 5e content that I really like? Maybe you like Candlekeep Mysteries, Book of Inner Alchemy, and you wanna go and, you have your One D&D content. Originally, you would be able to play them both, right?
Mhm.
Now that the core 5e rules are free, what's the value of One D&D, right? So in order to bring value into One D&D, I think what's going to happen is that it's going to be a closed system. I think that it's going to take a 180 and feel mechanically very different. I'm sure there will be caveats in there of like, hey, here's how you can adapt your 5e content to One D&D, but I think it's going to be very different. I also think that they are going to lean heavily into the VTT space,
Yeah.
like heavily into the VTT space. They are going to, and credit to Kimchi, Legal Kimchi, when we were talking, he said, you know what, they won't even release rules. Maybe it's a system that you interact with. It's going to be like a game engine,
Yeah,
and
it just has a UI.
has a
It probably has
UI.
some tutorials, but you don't have to read through a bunch of stuff because you don't need to know that this interacts with this in this way because the
It's all
game
programmed to do
just
so.
does it. It just does it,
They are
right?
basically, maybe, and this is speculation, One D&D in its VTT iteration is basically going to be a system where it's just plug and play. You can put whatever you want into it. It's going to be like Tabletop Simulator, I think. Not only in look, because I mean they've done those like flashy trailers, but I think in the way the system actually works, it's going to be heavily embedded into that virtual experience. I
Yeah,
really think so. I'm sure there will be print because people love print, right?
sure.
Um, but I think the print material and those mechanics are going to be drastically different, or at least very distinct. I don't want to say drastically. They're going to be distinct from 5e, and the VTT will have a lot of automation into it. There will be a ton of automation, I suspect,
All I
more
ask,
so than there already is with the character sheets.
all I ask from this new VTT, should it occur in the way that we think it will.
If I buy a print copy, do I get the digital one?
No, no. All I ask is that if I were to play a warlock and I cast Eldritch Blast, it sounds just like the one in Baldur's Gate 3 because that sound design is unreasonably sexy. Have you heard that? It's
I
such a
can't
good
think of it
sound.
like right
It's
in my
so
head.
good.
We'll
It's
have
so
to.
chunky.
Well,
Like that Eldritch Blast got a booty on it. Like it's just fucking
I
chunky.
want. It's got a booty on it. I
Like
fucking.
it's just
When you in my head when you said it's got a booty on it, I was like, what does that sound like? We'll talk about
what
that
does
later.
Eldritch Blast with the
Yeah,
booty
what
sound
does
like?
Eldritch Blast sound
Eldritch
like?
booty.
Oh God. Um, but like, it's going to be closed off, and I think
Yeah.
not enough people are talking about this, and I don't think that's a bad thing. I don't think that's a
Yeah.
bad thing because if it's closed off, if it's going to have its own OGL, if it's going to have its own SRD with their own unique licensing terms, while 5e is effectively safe now to create
Yeah.
in, WotC now has the challenge of getting people on board for One D&D.
Yeah.
And I think
Basically,
that's the new conversation.
basically, WotC is leaving Jurassic Park and they're gonna come back and it's just a fucking mania
Yeah,
because they've let everyone just free roam
well,
now. You can do whatever the fuck you want.
they're leaving one island. They literally like cut all the locks off. They said, "Hey, the labs are wide open. We're taking this boat to another island," and started Jurassic Park 2. Like, I
Yeah.
think that's what's
Yeah.
happening. There's still going to be dinosaurs there, but the way that you interact with these dinosaurs is going to be a little bit different.
Yeah. Well, and the VTT establishes or it helps create
A
similar with
distinct
D&D Beyond
experience.
a distinct experience, but like D&D Beyond, part of the reason that everyone canceling their subscriptions on D&D Beyond was so powerful is because when they talk about how D&D is under monetized, that is one of the most accessible ways to monetize it on a regular basis, and
Yeah.
that's why the cancellations, cause so much issues for them. Having such a dedicated VTT allows them to do, for better or for worse, all of the microtransactions and monetizations that they want
So
to do.
monthly
They could
subscription,
just
they're gonna have
hot
tiers.
drop they could just hot drop updates or like DLCs, like $4 for this subclass or $4 for this item, or shit like that.
Dude, they're just gonna like if I were to monetize a virtual tabletop that has like the ability to build scenes like Tailspire, fucking incredible. First of all, Tailspire, right?
Yeah, yeah,
If you had like a Tailspire meets Hero Forge with what already exists in D&D Beyond, and then you stick it in there with the freedom of Tabletop Simulator, they're going to be charging for cosmetics. Oh, do you want your avatar, your character, your little virtual mini to have these cloaks or these weapons? They're going to continue to charge for dice like they do already, right? They're going
yeah,
to they're going to charge for like, do you want a different, if it's virtual, what do you want your DM screen to look like? Maybe they're going to charge for
yeah.
different DM screens. They're going to
If
have their
they
monthly subscription too for the access to all of this
Yeah.
content.
What if it's like a $10 subscription to get access to a library with hundreds of pre-made maps? Hundreds of
Yeah.
fully rendered
I
3D
suspect
maps
that
that you
it
can
could
just
be
run
I
around in.
suspect that it could be even cheaper. I suspect that it could be even cheaper, and they would
A dollar,
basically well, look, like
30 cents.
Shonen Jump. Shonen Jump, the Shonen Jump app is
Sure.
like $3 a month, and you can read all the manga you want. But then you could just buy stuff too. You can add to
Yeah.
you pay more. That's how they bring you in with this low cost of entry, right? And then they get you to buy more. And I could see them doing that there, where
Yeah.
you would essentially buy into this ecosystem, just like we all are bought into Steam, and you'll never leave, right? You'll never leave because, hey, all of my books are here. All of my digital content is here. All of my
Yeah.
characters,
Oh,
all of
the
my
issues
3D models and stuff, they're all there.
honestly, when it comes to the whole, like, not to get into too much video game talk all of a sudden, but, like,
That's
when it
fine. There's
came to
no
the
dice, no
issue.
problem. No
Well,
dice, no
that's no
problem.
fucking problem, bro.
Yeah.
When it comes to like Steam versus Epic versus Ubisoft, yeah, I understand that like Uplay and Epic, they're all
Well,
garbage
Epic's
launchers.
Epic
But
is
does everyone
just
forget that
giving.
Steam's also kind of garbage?
Yeah, but like you could like people are all bought into Steam, right?
Yeah,
They
that's
can't
exactly
leave.
why.
Like I can't
Steam
leave Steam.
Steam never was, and it certainly isn't right now, a great launcher. It has all these issues all the
Oh,
time.
tons.
But the difference is that Steam has 300 games that I own on it. You
You're not
play and
going anywhere. You're not going
Uplay doesn't
anywhere,
have that for me. It is simply that they beat me to the punch, and it's
dude.
honestly kind of Steam and D&D are the same thing sometimes.
Well, that's what we
It's
said in that episode where we were like, D&D Beyond. It was our prediction. D&D Beyond is just going to be Steam. It's
Yeah,
just going to be like Steam for D&D, and people are going to be sucked into it. Like not in a bad way. Like people who want to play will pay to be able to play, and it will undoubtedly be a good experience. I have no. They're putting so much money into it. I doubt it's going to flop. I really doubt it's going to
I
flop.
don't think I don't.
I don't think it
It
can.
can I'm sure it can, but they can't afford
They
for
can't
it to.
afford for it to flop. Is what I mean. But like, it's not going to be like like Final Fantasy 14, like flops initially, and then they come back, and then it's this huge hit. I don't think that's going to be the case for it. I think they're going to. They know that the community is very vocal,
Sure.
and they are going to really probe the community for feedback on this one. I think they learned their lesson.
Mhm.
But that said, yeah, I completely agree. I think One D&D and D&D Beyond as a VTT, sort of as a game ecosystem,
Yeah.
is going to close itself off from 5e. We've already seen them take the steps to do that, right? Um, and it's just going to be its own sort of D&D.
Yeah.
And
If fifth edition splits off into its own experience that is now just supposed to be completely separate from this
mm,
like, enclosed system, and if they stop develop, so is WotC going to then stop developing for fifth edition?
oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So then, but with the Creative Commons, the rest of us have free license to do stuff. So I'm very interested to see, beyond based off of that, in the next 3-4 years, who starts rising to the top? Who's the new WotC within D&D fifth edition?
Well, that's
Who
well, it's literally it's the
who's making the shit
Pathfinders. It's the
that people
Pathfinder
want?
story, right?
Yeah.
It's that's why I said earlier they have to, now that they've appeased the community, they have to now go and say, okay, here's why you'll want to leave 5e to go and play 1D&D. That's the next
Mhm.
battle that WotC has to fight, right? They have to pull people away from this thing that they've made for free,
Yeah.
right?